Hiya crafters, Amy here with Amy's Wares, and I'm going to do some die cutting and embossing. Now I have this new to me paper rose die. It's a gorgeous floral looking die, and here's a photo of the finished card to show you the direction that we're headed. So to start, I'm just going to open up this packaging and take it on its maiden voyage. I will link all the products that I used in the video description box below. If you expand and scroll down and click where it says more, then you can kind of scroll down and see all the products that I used. So I'm going to use some mint tape and tack this down only on the front of this card base. And this is US A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 to give you an idea of the size of this die. And I do run it through with some mint tape through my Spellbinders Platinum 6. Now I quickly realized upon trying to poke out all these little fiddly bits that I didn't do the greatest job die cutting. Now I don't believe this is the fault of the die at all. Paper rose dies work amazing. I think I just have really warped plates. And it kind of worked against me and I wasn't paying the most attention. So once I realized that it wasn't die cut all the way through, I just kind of put the die back in. You can nestle it right back into place, tape it down and run it through for another pass, and then I had no issue at all. Now I was using my bone folder there to try and burnish out a crease that I got from the tape. I wasn't being very careful on taping it. I honestly should have probably let the tape go onto the inside of that die cut opening because that part is getting removed anyway. So if you're paying attention and more careful than me, then you'll probably have better luck. But basically I poked out all these little bits with my famous little Judy tool that my friend Judy sent me, and got those out of the way, and then I'm able to move on to the next step. So I was excited in this case. I decided to bust out an old embossing folder. And you guys know I'm obsessed with embossing, but I usually use my 3D embossing folders, and namely usually my all-to-new ones. So I was excited to bust out this older one from my stash with polka dots, and I lined it up so only the front part of the card actually got embossed. Now, I didn't really have a plan, but I decided that it was all a little bit too stark, so I'm adding in some color by doing some simple ink blending on the inside of the card where it will show on the front of the card. So I'm using residual ink on my teal brush, my blue brush, and I believe my yellow brush, maybe, just to kind of give it a little mix of color, but I realized it was a little too pale, so I do end up coming back a little bit more heavy-handed in spots, just to kind of deepen that color and give it a little bit more of a pop. So once I'm done with this ink blending, I will move on to the next step, but I am periodically closing it just to see where exactly that ink is showing through on the design. So something like this, a die like this would be great for a shaker card if you're into making those, because it creates that really pretty opening where you could just put some acetate behind it, and then have your little shaker bits. Now I'm deciding how I want to finish the card. I'm using my sentiment storage book here. This is where I store a bunch of die cuts that are ready to go. These particular ones are from Pink Fresh. You get one stamp with a bunch of these sentiments and then one coordinating die, and it kind of cuts them all out in one pass. So I'm figuring out what one is going to fit really well in this space, and I do decide that this thank you kind of fits the bill, and I always need thank you cards, so it works out great. So I'm going to just tape this down so that I can keep it closed so I can best line up this thank you, since I'm actually going to be adhering it on the inside of the card. So I'll use my liquid glue. I have some Barely Arts liquid glue, and I do end up using my tweezers just to kind of help me hold it in place, and put it down on the inside of the card here. So this is kind of a fun little design element because you can see the sentiment from the front of the card, but it's actually on the inside when you open the card. So it's just kind of a cool little feature when you use a die like this. So I don't want liquid glue oozage, so I pounce off the excess on a little piece of scratch paper and then just press that down and give it a chance to kind of adhere to the card base. So now I decide that I want to do some further ink blending, and I don't want to get it anywhere else where I don't want it, so I'm just kind of sandwiching a piece of scrap paper on the inside, and then I'm going to do some ink blending around the four corners. So this will bring a little bit more color into the design and also kind of tie in with the colors that I used on the ink blending. Now this also helps really showcase the subtle embossing. I did admittedly struggle a little bit trying to figure out what sandwich with these old embossing folders because I'm so used to doing the 3D that I did have a little bit of of a hard time finding the right pressure. So use whatever sandwich works for your particular folder and your particular die cutting machine. Just going to reinforce the crease there. That's the basic design down. I'm just going to add a little bit of blingage. I have some iridescent white sequins here that I'm going to lay down in a smattering odd number. So 2 on the bottom, 3 on the top. I have my jewel picker tool, and that's going to finish the design. So it was a really fun way to use this new to me die cut. I'm excited to play with it further and turn it into some shaker cards, but this would be really fun. You could do like a piece of scrap pattern paper behind or something like that. You could do it just on a panel and do so it's not open to the inside of the card. Lots of possibilities. So thank you so much for spending time with me. If you enjoyed this, please hit the thumbs up, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.